Hey, what's up, guys? This is Cody the Coin Raptor coming at you with another Bitcoin monthly video. So, this Bitcoin monthly video is for the month of November. Now, I know this is usually at this point over a month old, but the reason why I want to cover it is because there are some very important points that ARK goes over in these Bitcoin monthly reports that I think we can use to extrapolate where exactly Bitcoin is going to be going in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. They're going to talk about the post-election gains and the post-election all-time highs. So usually the way we start off this, we go straight to the summary. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the most important parts of the summary here. Now, they specify that Bitcoin in November had risen all the way to 96,000. All right, now this has happened after the presidential election because Trump, a more crypto-friendly candidate, was elected. That largely fueled the rally back in November. And they also come out here and they say that their own proprietary indicator, this AVIV deviation band model, pointing to a Bitcoin price target of $129,000 by the end of the Bitcoin bullish cycle, which would happen basically in 2025. So it's interesting. If you guys remember the last ARK Invest Bitcoin monthly report that I did, they actually raised this up from about, I think it was about 115,000, and now they're saying it's potentially as high as 129,000 next year. They also talk about the sell side risk ratio and then the mild to medium overbought conditions as well, with Bitcoin's run up in November and also a little bit here in December as well. And they also talk about the optimism overshadowing economic imbalances, the Bitcoin to gold price ratio. Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit more when I get to that slide. And we go through the Bitcoin metrics. These are all mostly unchanged except for time-weighted turnover, which is now bearish. And the next page of Bitcoin metrics, which have not seen any change except for perpetual futures, which is now bearish as well. So getting into the meat of things, Bitcoin has already surpassed its 200-day moving average. We've seen that actually in the last couple of months. It's surpassed the 200-day moving average. It's surpassed the on-chain mean. It's surpassed the short-term holder realized price. And so this really just indicates the fact that we've had strong momentum going forward. When Bitcoin does a huge breakout like this, past these three indicators that they track, normally we tend to see that this is followed by continuation of gains, like what happened back in 2023 and now in 2024. Anytime Bitcoin makes such a strong move upwards, it tends to consolidate for a period and then continue to move upwards after that. So they say that it's gone past the short-term holder cost basis and the on-chain mean, 66,900, 77,000, and 54,000 respectively. So 77,000 is probably where I would expect strong support. That's the closest to where we are right now. This is something that I would be watching out for. This is the short-term realized price, though. This has probably gone up in the month since this report was published. Next, they talk about the price target. Now, again, that's generated from the AVIV. That's their own proprietary scale. They take a look at the this AVIV ratio to give them an idea of whether or not Bitcoin is signaling irrational exuberance. Now, they signal this by looking at this pink line right here, and they've said that once Bitcoin actually goes up to this pink line right here, this would indicate that the price target would move close to 129,000. So they haven't exactly hit that top band just yet, like we've seen in the previous tops. Now, this AVIV ratio is very similar to what I talk about with the realized price and the MVRV, the market value and realized value Z-score. It's very similar to this. So if you guys are familiar with that, this is kind of a similar kind of deal. And they're just saying that essentially that we haven't hit that irrational exuberance yet. And when we do, we're going to get to 129,000. That's what ARK is saying here. Next, they talk about the Bitcoin price performance relative to average performance per year. And normally during times in which you see a Bitcoin gain per year, it's about the average is 2.33x. Okay, and this year we're sitting at about 2.28x. All right. Now, this is actually below the average year in which the halvings occurred as well. So they're pointing that out as well. It's not a huge surprise to see that we're actually running a little bit behind the Bitcoin average performance per year as the numbers get higher, as the market cap gets larger, as Bitcoin's market cap increases and the prices increase, you expect to see some kind of slowdown with the law of larger numbers. It makes it much more difficult for the numbers to actually continue to move up. So it's not a huge surprise for me. They also say that if it actually matched the average multiple increase, then it would go to between 104,000 and 124,000 by the year end. And we did see Bitcoin go up to almost 110,000 before it came back down again. So they were actually pretty accurate, I think, in this prediction here. Next, they talk about the sell side risk ratio and the fact that this is mostly neutral. So this really kind of indicates that selling hasn't been too crazy. Bitcoin is still below its historically overbought level at 1% or above. This is this red line they've outlined right here. So this is neutral in their case. This is something to watch out for. Next, they talk about the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. This is something I cover quite a bit. And the Fear and Greed Index, essentially, when you get it over kind of like RSI, if you get it over 70, or in their case, they're saying 75, then that kind of indicates extreme greed. And so Bitcoin's Fear and Greed Index passed into that 75. In fact, it went all the way up to, it looks like past 90 or so. And that was back in November. And so that kind of indicates that it's in kind of an overbought status. The market's overheated. And they would expect the reversion back to the mean. So they would come back down after that point. We'd see some selling. And we did actually wind up seeing some selling as well. So this is something that ARK follows and something that I follow very closely to monitor the overall status of the market and how investors are feeling. All right, so next they talk about more of the economic macro, and so specifically they call out something very interesting here. I think this is something key here: the Bitcoin to gold ratio. All right, so that's comparing Bitcoin to gold, and the Bitcoin to gold ratio hit it high at 36.7x. And this would signal, in their view, a shift to growth assets as opposed to the traditional safe haven assets like gold. However, if you want to look at it another way, this also could signal a growing acceptance of Bitcoin as a store of value as investors move to a more value-oriented store like gold. Bitcoin has been called digital gold many times and has been envisioned as part of the use case of Bitcoin is that it's a store of value and is a digital gold. And so we're seeing increased adoption of that idea. And I think that that's incredibly important towards the use case of Bitcoin, towards the success of Bitcoin, that it gets further acceptance as a store of value and is in direct competition with gold. Next, they talk about the U.S. net incomes. This is non-corporate divided by corporate incomes. So non-corporate firms tend to be small businesses, while the corporate firms are larger businesses. And so what they're saying here right now is that the non-corporate businesses are not doing very well compared to the larger corporate businesses. And this ratio has hit a low that they haven't seen since they started tracking this metric, I guess, back in 1960. So this is kind of not good news for these small businesses because small businesses are the largest private sector creator of jobs. And so they're saying that this could signal in the future that there could be a slowdown in the economy or a recession, essentially, is what they're saying. All right, and lastly they talk about the average future new orders from the manufacturing surveys. Now this is actually bullish in their view because this has jumped up to about 40 here, and this means a surge of optimism among manufacturers, and so this is bullish in ARK's view. All right, so going back to the summary page, I think that ARK has actually become rather bullish. It's interesting to me they didn't talk about the political climate at all in this Bitcoin monthly report, but they're probably saving it for the next monthly report that comes out. And I'm really interested in seeing how this will change over looking at December's. And when that comes out, I will definitely let you guys know. If you want to see that report, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the like button, and make sure you follow me on Threads and X. But I think the most important thing here is that they're talking about this $129,000 Bitcoin price target in 2025, and they're suggesting that Bitcoin has increased the adoption as a store of value compared to gold, and that is incredibly important when it comes to discussing Bitcoin and the health of the overall blockchain and the adoption of Bitcoin as a not only a currency but also as a store of value as well. Okay, so this is, I think, very bullish compared to a lot of the other ARK videos that we've done in the past. So let me know what you guys think below. If you guys think that it's possible that we'll hit 129K by 2025, and hopefully by the end of 2025, leave a comment below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.